Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about the Knight of Cups. This is Prince Charming. At least I see him as Prince Charming. This is the knight that handles emotion with care. If you want to know more about this card, if you want to understand the deeper symbolism, especially in terms of the elements, the Kabbalah and the astrology, then stick with me, because on this channel, we're using the Rider-Waite-Smith to understand all of the tarot cards at a deeper level, because the Rider-Waite-Smith is a fabulous, and I know it has its problems to do with when it was written, and there are gaps, but there is also an awful lot to learn from this deck. And once you've learned Rider-Waite-Smith, you can read any modern tarot deck, because most modern tarot decks are based on the Rider-Waite-Smith. Also, I'm going to teach you really traditional symbolism that you can apply in all areas of your life. So if you're wanting to know a little bit more about the Page of Cups, stick with me. We're going to spin the camera around and take a deeper look. So let's have a look at the Knight of Cups. Now, again, we've talked about the page, and if you haven't seen that video, in fact, I'd encourage you, if you are watching these videos, if you've come across me on YouTube looking desperately for somebody that's talked about the Knight of Cups and you found me, to go back and watch these videos from the beginning, because I've been talking about each individual card in terms of its symbolism right back from the full card, and I've worked my way all the way through. So we are here at the Knight of Cups. And I've been talking about how the Royal Arcana are different to the Major Arcana and the Minor Arcana in terms of the cards 1 to 10. In terms of them, to me, to understand the card, of course, they have Hebrew letters and allocation on the Kabbalistic tree of life. They have a meaning and they have astrology, but really to me, the meaning comes from the elements, the elemental allocation. So let's have a look, before we talk about all the bits, let's have a look at the different knights. So we've got Knight of Cups, we've got Knight of Wands. I normally have all these out before I start. I'm not organised today. Knight of Swords, one of my favourite cards. And Knight of Pentacles. I always think of Knight of Cups, I think of as the card that is my husband. I actually haven't done his cards in terms of his numerology. And I'll show you all that when I do my Tarot for Beginners course, which is coming very, very soon with a whole series of free videos, and there'll be a workbook, and oh, I'm so excited. So that's coming very soon. I always think of him as Knight of Cups, but actually, if we think about him from an astrological point of view, he's actually, because he's Taurus, he's actually Knight of Pentacles. So if we look at these knights and we look at them in terms of their astrological, their elemental allocation, knights are air. So fire of air. So the knight is air, the suit is fire. So air of fire. So air, of course, feeds fire. It's what it needs to burn. One of the things it needs to burn. So you can see here, you've got a fiery Knight of Wands. Air of water. Air and water are pretty neutral to one another. They don't really help one another. They don't deflect one another. And so you've got this beautiful knight on his horse, holding. I always think of him as holding the emotion in the cup. Knight of Swords, he's going to come dashing into your life. Heir of air. Knights are air, swords are air. And you can see that he's not really being very careful, because his sword is going right off the card. And when something goes right off the card, it means that the emotion is right off the scale, whether it is the Queen of Swords holding her sword with her sword cutting off at the top of the card, showing that she has infinite knowledge and wisdom. And, you know, here it's infinite energy. And then Knight of Pentacles, air of earth. And you can see the grounding effect of air of earth. So there are 4 knights, and you can see that the interpretation of these elements is quite different. And if you can remember the element, it really helps you to remember the meaning of the card. So let's have a look at the other things. So we've got the knight is allocated to, all the knights are allocated to Tippereth, the Seraphot of beauty, which is about harmony of all things, helping and transformation. So again, a card of action. And we think of knights as going out there and solving the world's problems, protecting the princess, you know, all of that stuff. So we have Hebrew letter vow, trust, oath, and allegiance. Again, could you think of any more words for the meaning of that letter that you could allocate to a knight? Traditional timing is summer. And if we look at the Golden Dawn timing, the timing, suddenly we've got dates again. So where we looked at the pages, and there are no dates for pages because they rule space, not time. If we look at the rest of the Royal Arcana, they actually move around the outside of the astrological wheel. So if we look here and we find Knight of Cups here, we're looking at moving through from the 3rd decan of Libra through to the 2nd decan of Scorpio. Now we know that everything moves around the astrological wheel Widdershins. So we're looking at the Knight of Cups bringing balance through to Scorpio. So we're looking at this balance of Libra coming through to this fiery emotional sign of Scorpio. So, and a fiery emotional sign of Scorpio. So you can see here, and the more you look at this, the more you see the meaning in the cards. Look at the knight. He's holding on to the emotion as he moves through from Libra to Scorpio. So the Royal Arcana, they push the astrological wheel around. So if you want to see that a little bit more clearly, you can see it. Now, if you want these cheat sheets, oh, they took me hours to do. Here we are. If you want to see these cheat sheets, they are available for you to purchase, so you don't have to make them yourself. And they're in my Etsy shop, along with my cheat sheets that I'm referring to right here, that detail all the finer symbolism of the card. So some things I remember to talk about in the video, and some things I don't. And if you want the finer detail, grabbing these cheat sheets is the way to go. So if we look for Knight of Cups here, blue, water symbolism. So air of water, water symbolism. So, and the traditional color is blue. And you can see here the Knight of Cups is pulling Libra here, Libra through to Scorpio. So you can see it here on the chart, how it all fits so beautifully together. Now, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, Pamela Coleman-Smith and Arthur Waite are a little bit guilty of shifting and changing things just a tiny little bit to make things fit compared to the traditional tarot. but they're a great yardstick to start with. Fabulous. If you can learn all of this, or at least get your head around it, you don't have to memorize it. Please, please don't memorize it. That's why we have cheat sheets. And also, the idea is to expose yourself to all of this as you're doing your tarot study and absorb it, and then come up with your own meaning for the card, because what we're aiming towards, of course, is the reading of the cards more so than, well, being out. The symbolism's really good, and I find it really good if I go to an art gallery. It's just extraordinary how you can look at art and suddenly interpret what's going on from having learnt the tarot. But to me, this is about learning and appreciating the cards. And then what I want you to do is think about the Knight of Cups. Think about, when did you have to hold somebody's emotion very carefully? Or when did somebody else do that for you? When did someone else create that balance? And you can see here with the Libra through to Scorpio, he's holding the watery emotion, but look at how he's having to keep the balance on the horse. So again, another thing I've only just seen today to do with that deeper meaning of the card. So let's have a look at the symbolism. So we've talked about, and the traditional timing. So we've got timing here, October 13 to November 12. So if you're wanting to do a reading and you've got a timing position in that reading, and the Knight of Cups comes up, then that's the sort of timing you're looking at. However, you can also just use the traditional timing of summer, or you can be like me and say, look, I'm going to really be thinking about whether I'm actually going to be talking about this in terms of when it's going to happen for somebody, because it's a big responsibility to be doing future prediction. And I've done some videos about that on my channel. So let's have a look at the symbolism on this card, which of course is quite deep, even more so than looking at all of the other symbolic attributions. So the Knight, of course, is riding out with confidence, and you can see him holding his balance on the horse, holding the emotions of the world. His armor represents protection and security, but can also mean keeping one's emotions protected and close. The fish on his cape, fish symbolize happiness and prosperity, and represent focus, again, being focused on dreams and emotion. And if we look at, where are my cards? If we look at the Page of Cups, you can see here, this is reflected in the page where, I haven't got the Page of Cups out, just give me a second. When we look at the Page of Cups is focused on a fish. I just love the way the cards all intertwine. You can see here, the Page of Cups focused on a fish, and you're repeating that theme in the Knight. The cup represents the emotions carried out into the world. The blue symbolism, of course, the blue river is always the emotions of life. Blue sky is clarity of purpose. There's no hesitation here. Even the horse has blue reins and a blue saddle. He's stepping out into the world with clarity of purpose, of carrying that emotion. The mountains here of orange and yellow and red represent life's challenges that sit before you. The grey armour can represent confusion, but it can also represent staunch clarity of purpose, and the horse as well. And grey is an interesting colour because when it's on a throne, for example, it can represent steadfastness and lack of capacity to move. But in the sky, it can represent confusion. So being aware of the slight changes in the meaning of the colour. So that is the Knight. Oh, the wings on his helmet are the wings of Hermes. and a symbolic of being attuned to love and emotion. So it's a beautiful card. One of my favorite cards, if I see a card like this come up, I know when I'm talking to a client that this is about either their partner or somebody coming into their life that will handle their emotions very carefully, whether it's their boss, their friend, or their intimate partner. How you read Royal Arcana cards, of course, is one of those things I think everybody struggles with. Do you read the emotion, which I've talked about, and the meaning of the card, or do you read it in terms of it being a person? And it really is up to you how you decide to interpret the energy of the cards in front of you. I tend to read the energy of the card more so than attributing it to a person. Although I think there is a very old video of me reading for somebody through Facebook Live, and I had all these Royal Arcana cards come up out of nowhere. And that was definitely, I had very strong messages about this girl's family. So it really depends on using your intuition. And I am going to be doing more videos on actual reading. I'm going to do a whole series on my understanding of the meaning of the card in different for different situations and locations in a reading. And I'm also going to be doing a whole series on reading this card in different locations in a Celtic cross spread. So there's lots to do on my channel yet. So this is the Knight of Cups. I hope you enjoyed my video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notifications bell, check the description box, join my newsletter list, connectwithyourdeck.com/newsletter, and you will get all my freebies. And there's a lot of them. I've got a whole members community full of goodies for you to help you learn the tarot. Take care, everybody, and I will see you in the next video where we will talk about the Queen of Cups.